This
Recording.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Steph, was that you?
Yep, I'm on for right now. I'm gonna have to jump off back on and off. So
Okay. Since I'm on my phone, I really can't see who is on.
Oh. Paul,
Is
do you want me to run it, or you want to run it from your phone?
I can run it from my phone.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, though.
Okay.
If my phone dies, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Steph, do you want to do roll call?
sure.
Are we there yet? Yeah.
Yep, I think we just need to. Karen, are you on? Tino?
I don't see her yet.
I don't see her yet. Ike? Ike, are you on? I got Tina, I got Colleen, I got Anita, I got Kathleen. Bob, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay. Mayor Aronson, I got you. Ike or Karen?
I'm here.
Okay. We're just waiting on Karen then.
All right. It looks like Karen may not be coming. She's having some difficulties with the weather.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Go ahead, Steph.
I just need you to, President Leonard, we can just call the meeting to order.
Oh, that's right. It's just a working session.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us for our regularly, by the authority vested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. Thank you for joining us for our regularly scheduled public work session. At this time, please mute your audio lines. No public comments will be permitted during the course of the meeting until the designated public comment section located on your agenda. You will be notified during the meeting when public comments are permitted. You may also submit written comments via email to brogers@conshohockenpa.gov. A member of Borough Administration will read public comments submitted in this manner. For all comments, please include your name and address for the record. Thank you in advance for your cooperation during the remote meeting. Prior to the work session, Council held an executive session on legal matters. The first item on the agenda is land use map, public hearings and ordinances. First item is a discussion on ordinance amendment to establish animal control regulations. And I will turn this over to Mr. Peters.
Thank you, President Leonard. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So several months ago, Council asked us to start the process of taking a look at your animal control ordinance. At that meeting in particular, several residents attended and outlined for us specific issues that they had identified throughout the borough. So what we've circulated is a draft ordinance that attempts to address all of those issues as identified by the residents. Just some highlights. The ordinance always restricted off-leash animals, but it really was not terribly clear. It used some outdated language. So we've updated it to make clear that off-leash animals throughout the borough are prohibited. We've made clear the requirement to clean up animal waste and droppings. We've made clear requirements with respect to stray and feral cats. So the ordinance was lacking with respect to stray and feral cat regulations. This ordinance would make it illegal to feed stray and feral cats if doing so creates a nuisance condition or a condition contrary to health, safety, and welfare. It provides specific regulations and restrictions with respect to chickens. So the restriction would be that there be only hens permitted within the borough, and then there are very specific restrictions in terms of setbacks from neighboring properties, and also in terms of the pens, et cetera, that would need to be used. There's escalating fines to try to be fair in terms of instituting this ordinance. So those fines escalate from 50 for a first instance all the way up to 500 for, I think it's the fourth violation. It provides for an animal control officer, which would be a new position within the borough. If not enforced by an animal control officer, the provisions can still be enforced by your police department, but it is, I think, the long-term goal to have an animal control officer. And finally, it creates private civil actions, so individuals who are harmed by someone not following the terms of the ordinance can file a private civil action to enforce the ordinance. So that's the ordinance as it was circulated. As always, we're bringing it to you tonight for any comments you may have. You also can provide any comments between now and your voting meeting, ways to tighten it up or make it better. And I think at your voting meeting, if you're inclined, you would then decide whether or not you want to move forward with advertisement. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have, or you can ask me between now and the voting meeting, whatever works.
Council, the only thing that I will add, speak back, specifically is that there we go.
Go ahead, Seth.
Yep, there we go. We did receive specific complaints from residents as it pertained to the feeding of stray and feral cats, and I think that where we got to, if you look at the complaints that we have on file in this ordinance, it addresses the main concerns. So I just wanted to point out that and thank the residents that provided feedback to borough administration, because that feedback was used when generating the language in the ordinance. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to thank those that provided feedback.
Thank you, Steph. Mike, I do have one question. You mentioned
Sure.
chicken and hens
Yep.
in it, and I believe if I heard you correctly, you said that chickens would not be allowed.
No,
Yes,
roosters would not be allowed. So the question, yeah. So the question is, it's entirely within your discretion. So there are quite a few options. So those options range from prohibiting chickens outright in the borough, which I've been through many times, and there's a whole other conversation that maybe we don't want to get into tonight. Or if you are going to allow chickens, you have to have some kind of regulations in place to make sure that they're kept cleanly and don't roam. So this chicken part of it, if you feel like we're biting off more than we need to right now, that's fine, because it does sometimes turn into a longer conversation. But the way that it's drafted is you could have hens, up to 3 hens, but they need to be kept in a pen, and there's a whole series of restrictions.
Okay.
So I think we have to keep that in there because part of the complaints that we have been getting are the roosters and the chickens crowing.
Right.
So I do think that we need to take a look at that.
Okay, and
Yeah.
this would Tina, address that issue, right? Because roosters are not permitted under this ordinance.
Okay. Yes, and that was my question. So something we'll have to think about. I mean, I know the chickens have been a part of the borough for many generations.
Yep.
And I know that there are definite issues with them also. And I understand the whole concept of the roosters. But we will have to have some kind of discussion on people that already have them.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't a lot of these chickens grandfathered in?
That
Well, some of them will be. Some of them will be, and that'll be one of the things that anyone who has a rooster, for example, would have to demonstrate that they did have them prior to the enactment of this ordinance.
right.
Okay. Right.
And then if someone has a rooster and God forbid something happens to it, it doesn't give them the right to get another one.
That's
Correct.
right. Yeah, that's
That's all.
correct.
Okay.
But
That's
Did
my
you-
Mike, that grandfather clause does not pertain to a feral cat colony, correct?
No, it doesn't. Yeah. There'd be only because there'd be no way to actually demonstrate it, right? So you can have a chicken, a rooster, and you can probably demonstrate that you have a rooster, but you can't. A feral cat colony, because this ordinance identifies it as a nuisance, there's no right to continue a nuisance condition. So it would not apply. That's correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Yep. Sure.
About the cat. What about if the cats are coming on your property? How can you stop them
Yeah.
feeding?
So if cats are, there's two things. One, if those cats belong to someone, it would be a violation of this ordinance to allow them to come onto your property, because cats at large are not permitted under the ordinance. If those cats are coming onto your property because someone is feeding them, a neighbor, for example, you would either be able to report it to the borough and to the ACO, the animal control officer, or under this ordinance, you could actually file a private action against your neighbor. Not that I ever suggest that, but it is an option that we had to provide under this ordinance, because sometimes there is no other way to address the issue.
Okay.
Mike, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So we have certain pockets in the borough, especially along Maple, where we do have stray cats. Assuming this is enacted and residents are not allowed to feed and harbor stray cats, what do we do about the physical population of stray cats that do exist?
Yeah, so that's a question separate and apart from the ordinance, right? So what you have to decide is, as a policy decision, if there is some kind of there are lots of programs that they use. There's a catch and release program where there's a catch and a spay or neuter and then a release. So there are lots of options for programs, but that's not something you would deal with in this ordinance. So council should think, and you mayor should think, if there are pockets where there are significant issues with stray cats, other options, not under this ordinance, just other options practically to address it.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Mike? Okay. So that is for council for this evening, a no vote item. So we will have time to think about it and discuss it.
Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. I did want to touch on the nuisance situation.
I'm sorry. Who's speaking?
Hi, this is David Todd. I live on Spring Mill Avenue.
Okay, so David, public comment is directed for the end of the meeting. And
sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'll shut up and go on mute.
We will absolutely be happy to hear your comments then. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is discussion on an amendment to the Borough solicitation ordinance. We will again turn this over to Mike Peters for a discussion on the amendment for the Borough solicitation.
Thank you. This one's hopefully much shorter because it involves some additional drafting that you don't have before you. So we received a couple of months ago a letter from a company that wanted to do some solicitation in the borough. That caused us to take time, as you do with all your ordinances, and go back and look through the solicitation ordinance to see if there's anything that needed to be updated, whether based on new case law or just practical changes in the world. And there are a few things in your solicitation ordinance that need to be updated, only because it hasn't been touched for almost 10 years now with respect to these specific provisions. So two of the provisions, luckily, you can address via resolution, so you won't be doing an actual ordinance. We'll be preparing a draft resolution for you. One of those things, you need to look at your hours again, which is a much longer conversation than we need to have this evening. I just need you to know that it's something that we need to discuss, and I'll prepare a resolution for you to actually see. And then the second thing that can be handled by resolution is the number of licenses that can be issued at any time. So your ordinance provides you the opportunity to set the number of licenses that are issued at any time. You haven't revisited that in a long time, I think since the ordinance was drafted. So you just have to take another look at that to make sure you're in compliance with all existing law. And then finally, there's a fingerprinting requirement in there that is simply outdated. It's no longer used and should be deleted just to clean up your ordinance. So for this evening, all I'm telling you is that there are two resolutions that you'll consider in the future related to hours and related to the number of permits, and we'll have lots of time to discuss that. And then there's a fingerprinting requirement that needs to be removed. And again, we can discuss that at a later date, although it needs to be removed. So I feel relatively comfortable that you'll authorize me to just draft an ordinance removing it. It'll be like 2 lines. So anything else that any of you have noticed with the solicitation ordinance, because you have a no-knock list, the ordinance works pretty well, practically speaking. I mean, if residents sign up for the no-knock list, that gives them quite a bit of leverage and power. So anything else that you use with the solicitation ordinance? Otherwise, I think I can move forward with the other 3 items.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mike?
No questions for me.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. I'm sure that's something everyone will take your advice and look into. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a council business, conduct interviews for board and commission vacancies. The first interview is with Aparna, and excuse me if I don't get this correct, Shibra for the
Yes.
Sewer Authority Board and Dog Park Advisory Committee. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Please let me know if I break up due to the storm. I'm not sure about my internet connection, so just let me know if you have any trouble hearing me.
Thank you, we will, and you seem to be coming in very, very clear. So thank you for your interest in both the Sewer Authority Board and the Dog Park Advisory Committee. It's nice to have residents with such an interest in the borough. So my first question would be, why would you like to serve on the Sewer Authority Board?
Absolutely. So I live in Conshohocken. I live on East Hector Street on the east side. I've lived in the borough for about a little over 4.5 years. I think it's a wonderful place to live. And so at a high level, honestly, for both positions, I am eager to be able to give back to and support the borough in any way I can. As a resident and hopefully a long-term resident of the borough, I'd like to live in the borough for a long time to come. It is important to me that the decisions that are being made, projects and initiatives that are prioritized, the planning that's being done now is done in a manner that ensures that the borough continues to be a great place to live for a long time to come. Sewer authority is obviously very important provides a very important service, is very important to the borough now, but I think it'll be very important to the future of the borough as well. So I'm applying for the vacant position on the Sewer Authority Board in order to be able to do what I can to ensure that the authority can continue to serve the needs of the borough far into the future.
Thank you. And I'm sure your interest in the Dog Park Advisory Committee, I'm assuming one, you have a dog.
I do have a dog, yes. I am a dog owner. My dog is a member of the dog park. It's a wonderful resource. I think it's wonderful that Conshohocken has that resource for dog owners. So I would like to be able to do what I can to support the dog park and other, dog pet related initiatives that the dog park committee is involved in.
Yes, and they are involved in quite a few of them, so that's a good thing. Is there anyone else on council with a question?
Aparna, two quick
Go ahead.
questions about dog park committee.
Mhm.
The first is, have you been able to attend a dog park committee meeting?
Yes, I have attended 2 dog park committee meetings. Yes.
Awesome, wonderful.
And
And then the second is, I'm sorry.
Sorry for interrupting. I was
No,
just
go
going to
ahead.
say, they have a lot of activities, as you just mentioned, they have a lot of activities planned coming up for the fall. So I am, if appointed, I am very eager to get involved with those.
And what is something you hope to bring to the dog park committee if appointed?
I think just I would come in with a love of dogs and an eagerness to kind of support both the dog park, but also other kind of initiatives, other efforts to kind of promote dog friendliness of the borough. So I think I'm just eager to jump in and contribute both to the dog park and to other activities that committee is involved in.
Thank you.
Aparna, it's Tina.
Hi, Tina.
So for the sewer board, how would, not just being a recent resident and not knowing a whole lot about sewer plants, how would you go about learning and trying to get to where you needed to be to be able to serve the residents of Conshohocken?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely have a lot to learn about the operation of the authority. Fortunately, from what I can tell, there are a lot of current members of the authority board who've been serving for a long time. So I would definitely rely on that prior experience and expertise, both current members and anyone else in the borough who has prior experience serving on the authority board, current administration, current individuals who are currently working at the sewer authority. It would be important to me to talk to individuals and learn as much as possible from them, get access to any materials, documents, and so on that are available. So I definitely know that I would have a lot to learn and catch up on, but I'm eager and willing to spend the time to catch up as quickly as possible.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else, council, have a question? Okay, so Aparna, I do have one more question. You mentioned the sewer authority board. Are you familiar with any of the sewer authority board as of yet?
With the members?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was able to attend one sewer authority board meeting, and I have gone through the minutes of the prior recording, so I do know who is on the board, and I've tried to familiarize myself as much as I could with the work of the board and their, what they do in their operation.
Okay, and none of them personally?
I know Carol from, I'm a member of the community garden, and so I do know Carol from the community garden.
Well, that's nice. You're also involved in the community garden. That's good to know also. Okay, well, thank you very much for giving us your time and showing your interest in both positions. I'll speak for myself and as council, as we truly appreciate that. And just thank you for your time this evening.
Well, thank you to the whole council for your time as well, and for making it so, I have to say, the application process was quite easy, and Brittany was very helpful in helping me through the process. So thank you for making it so easy to apply.
Well, you're quite welcome, and we always love to hear compliments on Brittany. She is wonderful. So, okay, so the next person to interview is Matt Hoffman for the Sewer Authority Board. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Doing well, thank you. Surviving the weather like the rest of us, right?
Fingers crossed. Hopefully there's no water in the basement when I get home.
Yes. So Matt, I will start off with asking the same question. Why would you like to serve, and what is your interest on the Sewer Authority Board?
So again, I've actually lived in the borough for about 13 years. We lived down on West Elm Street for 5 years. And then we also lived on East 9th Avenue is where we currently reside. So been involved in the community for quite some time. Right now I coach baseball, I coach soccer with the kids, and I was involved with with the council at St. Mark's Lutheran Church, where I served 2 years as the treasurer. So I like to be involved with the community and activities, and I think that you know, my experience and skills and my professional life would be a benefit to the authority as well. Right now, I work in the construction industry. I sell electric heat tracing, which is a cable that goes on pipes to prevent them from freezing. So I have a deep understanding of mechanical piping systems, sewer treatment plants, things of that nature. So, you know, I think my experience and skills would be a benefit to the team.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on council?
Yeah, just one question, Matt. Could you clarify if you live on East or West 9th Avenue?
I'm on West 9th Avenue.
Okay, I thought you said East in. Okay, thank you.
Nope, West 9th.
Okay.
Matt, it's Matt. Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
Tina Sokolowski. I'll ask you the same question. So, you know, it sounds like you have a little bit of a background to know a little bit, but how would you go about learning more and trying to get to where you would be serving the community and the residents well as a sewer board member?
Like I had mentioned, I am familiar with, you know, the way that these sewer treatment plants work. We do a lot of bidding on valves and instrumentation and things of that nature at these types of facilities. So, you know, in order to familiarize myself with the one that we currently have, you know, I think it would be good to do a walk down of the site with some of the folks who actually work there. Get an understanding of exactly what the operation does and how it works and who's involved with it. I think the hands-on approach is probably a good thing to see how it actually operates in person. You know, I think also one of the things that I would like to do is, you know, professionally to serve on that board. It would be beneficial to, you know, to me as a professional. So, you know, for me to get an understanding of how that whole operation works would be good for me, but it would also be good for the community as well.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Matt, I do have one more question for you. Are you familiar with anyone on the sewer authority, or do you actually know anyone on the sewer authority?
I do. So I know Felix. His daughter and my daughter are both in class together. So, you know, I had spoken with him about it. He had kind of filled me in on the vacancy coming open, kind of how everything operates. You know, cued me into the website, and I was able to watch a few of the meetings and review the minutes. So, you know, he kind of was my sounding board for a lot of the things that I had gone through so far.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Council, does anyone else have a question for Matt? Okay, so Matt, I would again say thank you for your interest in the sewer authority. We truly do. I appreciate it. Council appreciate it. It's always nice to have residents be more involved. And thank you for your time this evening.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Okay, the next item on the agenda is manager matters, and I will turn that over to Ms. Checo. Thank you.
Thank you, President Leonard. The first item is to accept resignations for Chelsea Wojciechowski from the Dog Park Committee and Curtis Miller from the EAC. If inclined, I would just need both those motions to accept their resignations.
I'll make that motion, Anita.
Second, Jimmy Griffin.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item, as everyone is aware, the COVID-19 emergency continues in Montgomery County. We have a local disaster emergency in place. I am asking council to consider extending that local disaster emergency by resolution 2021-21 until December 1st of 2021. If inclined, I would need that motion.
I'll make that motion, Tutino.
I'll second it, Griffin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item, so everyone on council is aware that we had an emergency road issue down on Poplar Street 2 weeks ago. We had to issue emergency expenditures in order to repair the road that collapsed with the pipe collapse as well. Karen McNair is on the call. Should you have any questions or need additional information about the issue on Poplar itself, because of the emergency situation and the collapsed storm sewer and the portion of the roadway, we needed to enact immediately in order to get the repairs started. Therefore, the borough engaged outside of our normal procurement process. And so this evening, I'm asking council to approve resolution 2021-22, which authorizes and ratifies the emergency expenditure of funds from our capital reserve fund to repair the storm sewer and road on Poplar Street. And I think what's very important to highlight on this matter is this is exactly why we underwent an infrastructure program and an infrastructure evaluation. This council and mayor were diligent in driving that initiative so that we had that information on file, because we know these issues exist. And this is kind of an example of our first infrastructure issue that we've had because of a severe weather event and significant flooding. And unfortunately, I think this is going to be more of our norm than not. And it also illustrates the sound reasoning towards looking at funding options for the infrastructure project. So while this is an unfortunate circumstance that's going to result in an extremely expensive emergency repair that's required, it needs to be highlighted that this is the very reason why we were focused on infrastructure and why that needs to be a focus moving forward. And also why we were looking at alternative funding options, specifically with the sale of the sewer authority, because there's only so long where we can dip into our reserves and pull out, potentially in excess of $100,000 to rectify an infrastructure issue. So for this evening, what I need is the motion to approve the resolution for the expenditure of the funds. But again, if there's any specific questions from council at this time, we'll take them, and Karen McNair, our engineer, is on the call.
Staff, it's Tina. Sorry, Anita, go ahead.
That's okay. I just want to know, is there any funding from the state that we can get?
Not specific in this emergency situation. So we had to make emergency decisions and pull on resources that were within our funds. Anita, if we had more time and it wasn't of an emergency situation, then sure, there is specific infrastructure funds like liquid fuels and or American Recovery Act currently that could be utilized, but the nature of the situation required us to have to pull funds immediately.
So we can look at that going forward.
Well, we would look at that. Yes, definitely. We'd be looking at all those funds, federal funds, liquid fuels funds, tie that into other additional funding sources that we may have. But those types of resources can't be utilized when you're literally in an emergency situation and have to make funding decisions on the spot.
Okay, thank you.
So Karen, it's Tina. I didn't have my study readily available. When we look at the study and we had identified priority areas that we had more concern about for issues to occur, was this particular area one of those high priority areas? And if it wasn't, then I really have concerns.
Yes.
What it was.
I'd have to go back and take a look. We had televised this pipe. It's a corrugated metal pipe, so anytime you have a metal pipe in water, you know, the concern is it's going to deteriorate over time, and that's what happened here. The age of the pipe in this area is older. I don't think that the televising that we had showed, it certainly didn't show the problem that we have currently, which is that there is no bottom of the pipe. The bottom of the pipe has failed, and that was what created the emergency situation.
So it could be.
And that created additional road failures. So those road failures, yeah.
So it could be thought that that same pipe goes along that whole road, and we could have additional failures in the near future along there.
So the municipal authority was going to televise we televised the entire run on that side of the roadway when we were notified of the borough authority did, and they were televising the other part today if they could get in before the rain. So we should be able to see the pipe on the other side of the roadway, the condition of that very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
If there are no other questions, then for this evening, what I need is a motion to approve Resolution 2021-22, authorizing and ratifying the emergency expenditure of funds to repair the storm sewer and road on Poplar Street.
Mike Griffin, I'll make that motion.
Anita, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the sale of the ladder truck on Municiped. So there, right now we, in conjunction with Washington Fire Company, it was brought to the borough's attention that the fire company was ready to sell the 1999 Ladder 55 truck. So we coordinated with the president of Washies to process the sale on Municipid, and in order to do that, now that all of the paperwork is ready to go, I need council's approval to approve resolution 2021-23, which authorizes the sale of the 1999 Ladder 55 truck at a minimum bid of $80,000. Again, this is coming directly from our fire chief, the fire departments, and based off of the new equipment which was purchased by council in the previous fiscal year.
I'll make that motion. Sokolowski.
Kathleen?
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
St. Mark's Lutheran Church reached out to the borough. They would like to hold a church service outdoors on East 5th Avenue on September 12th, 2021. Following the service, they would like to host a mini block party with lunch, yard games, and socializing. So what they would be requesting is a road closure from East 5th Avenue in front of the church from Fayette to Harry from 8 to 2. We would be providing barricades, no parking signs. This has been vetted by administration, and we have their special event application on file. We have their insurance on file, and as is our procedure, they now need to appear in front of council for approval. So if inclined, the motion would be to approve St. Mark's special event request to hold an outdoor church service and block party on September 12th, 2021.
I'll make that motion. Tutino.
I'll second it. Griffin.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
The last item under manager matters is a discussion on the 2022 minimum municipal obligations, the MMO, for our police pension plan, fire pension plan, and non-uniformed pension plan. Each year during the budget cycle, we are provided a report and an assessment of the pension plans and what the total cost would be in order to fund those financial requirements and minimum municipal obligations for the budget. The police pension plan, the obligation for the 2022 fiscal year is $586,048. For the fire pension plan, the obligation is $3,207, and for the non-uniform pension plan, it's $167,154. So all of those numbers you will see during your budget cycle built into your 2022 budget. Council is required per Act 205 to approve the amounts prior to September 30th. So the pension worksheets will be in your meeting materials leading into the September 16th meeting, and a formal vote to approve the MMOs will be at your voting meeting. So does anyone have any questions pertaining to the MMOs?
No.
I don't.
Okay, then that is just a discussion item for this evening. And President Leonard, I have no additional manager matters.
Thank you, Ms. Checo. The next item on the agenda is legal matters, and it is consider approving decision with findings of fact and conclusions of law for the 450 Caldwell Lane conditional use application. Mr. Peters, if you could go over that.
Thank you, President Leonard. So as you know, you already voted on this matter, and the day following that vote, we issued, as is common practice, a notice of your decision with all of the conditions that you imposed in connection with that decision. This decision in particular, as you know, has some conditions that are going to delay ultimate development under the decision for several years. So because of that, we felt it important to take the second step of actually issuing a real decision with findings of fact and conclusions of law in connection with the 450 Caldwell Lane conditional use application. That decision, and this is going to be a practice that we use going forward with you, when that decision is finalized, I will circulate it to all of you as I've done prior to this meeting, and then ask you to actually vote on it formally at a public meeting. So it's of record with the borough, and it's just a better procedure. So this evening, there's nothing for us to really discuss. You've already voted on this. You've seen my decision. So this evening, if you're inclined, it would be a motion to approve the decision as drafted and as circulated.
Mike, it's Tina. So what this new process is to do is to memorialize projects that are approved now but may not be built for X number of years in the future, correct?
Right. Yeah. It's a good question, Tina. So if you had denied this application, you would be required by law to issue something just like what I circulated to all of you. When you approve a decision, it's not necessarily required, but again, to your point, just because this one is so far out in the future, we felt it important to memorialize. There are aspects of it that if Steph's not around and I'm not around and you guys aren't around, no one's going to have any idea what happened in 2021 with this decision. So now they will. So you're exactly right, Tina. That's the only reason we did it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike. And that's a great reason for doing it, because as myself and many members of council know, we have come across that time and time again with decisions that were made, and no one had any understanding of them. So this is a great plan moving forward.
Agreed.
And again, we won't do it if it's just a simple application. We're not going to spend the time and money doing it. But with something like this, it's worth it. So Thank you.
We appreciate it. So I'll need a motion from someone for council.
I'll make that motion,
Barton?
Sokolowski.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
so
Tina.
we have a motion from Tina
Tina.
Sokolowski and a second from Anita Barton,
Yep,
correct? All
correct.
in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is council and mayor matters. Mayor Aronson,
Thank you, President Leonard.
you're welcome.
So last week, my team and I put on bingo at the VFW, and it was a big success. We raised just about $1,000 for the Colonial Neighborhood Council and had lots of our local business owners calling rounds and giving out gift certificates. Big thank you to everyone who came out and the VFW for hosting. We actually hope to run bingo night for residents quarterly moving forward due to popular demand. And also we had our second sprinkler night last week, this time at Sutcliffe Park. As you can see, the park was absolutely packed with residents, young and old, jumping in the water and meeting our fire department members. Thank you to number 1 and number 2 and Chief Gunning for a wonderful night and series of events this summer. And finally, please, everyone, be careful out there. I do highly recommend signing up for our code Red Alerts, which can be found right on the Borough website. I also just posted a link on my social media this afternoon, and I know we're all thinking about our emergency services staff and wishing them safety through the storm.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Aronson. Mr. Stokely? Bob?
I'm sorry. I have nothing tonight, Colleen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anita?
Just a big thank you to all our helpers out there and our rescue people, and be safe.
Thank you, Anita. Kathleen?
Nothing, Colleen. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Karen?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
You're welcome. Ike, do you have anything this evening?
No, I don't. Just be safe and watch its weather.
Thank you, Ike, and that's plenty. Vice President Sokolowski?
No, just a thank you to all of our staff for everything they've been doing. It's been a tough day with preparing for what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And I'm not sure if Chief Metz was able to attend with everything going on. Chief Metz, are you with us this evening? Do you have anything?
President Leonard, I believe that Mr. Sokolowski, our emergency management coordinator, is going to give an update just on behalf of all the emergency management team, if that's okay.
That is perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Ray.
Good evening. Yes, I'll give a quick update. Sorry. Right now, we have everybody out. So police, fire, public works are all out. We have several situations along Cowell Lane. Cowell Lane is flooded and closed completely, but that's up and down. It goes from 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water on the roadway down to nothing, and then back up again as these showers are coming through. So that is completely closed. The river is a little strange this time. The river was going to peak at 20.8, which would be higher than the August of last year's flood that we had. That then changed to 18 feet about 2.5 hours ago. And I just received notification that it's back up to 20.5, which is exactly the number it was last year when it flooded. So it's a little back and forth, but we are seeing this the beginning of what could be a long night. It was supposed to have peaked about 4 a.m. Looks like it may peak a little bit earlier than that. We have a second ambulance crew that we are securing for the overnight and tomorrow morning with Arbor Ambulance. They've been very helpful through this entire situation. We have a shelter set up at 2 locations, at our administration building in what used to be the YMCA Training Center. We have a small shelter there for specifically for non-ambulatory people or small children. The community center, both the basketball area and the multi-purpose room, are also set up with tables and chairs for sheltering anyone if need be. And we have an emergency generator that we brought in at 4 o'clock today in case we do lose power to that building. So all of our facilities are under emergency power generators if we need them, and we're able to shelter who we need, and we're able to do standard and emergency operations through the entire period. Any notifications that we get, we like to get them through 911 now. People have been dialing the fire department directly, and those calls are going to be accepted. They have to dial 911 and get put on our list. We have multiple fire crews out. Just about every truck we have is out with pumps and some with boats. All our boats are deployed right now, but they're going to be out for the duration. I can't tell you how helpful it is to have this many volunteers be able to come out to handle our situation. Although we have it bad here, you will shortly be hearing about some of the other areas around Montgomery County, including Horsham Township, got hit with a tornado, and also a lot of flooding. So right now we're in pretty good shape. We missed the tornado part of it, which we had tornado warnings through the day, but we did not have any tornadoes. We didn't really even have high winds. So our biggest issues now is going to be the flooding. The winds don't seem to be as big an issue, but trees may be a big issue. So again, everyone should be dialing 911 and not a direct phone number that they find for the police department or the fire department. Everything goes through 911. I'll answer any questions on that afterwards. I have one more thing that I'd like to get out. We'd like to thank Congresswoman Madeline Dean's office. Today she called Chief Gunning, or I'm sorry, sent an email to Chief Gunning and the number 2 fire department. They received a grant. It's called an AFG grant, Assistance to the Fire Department Firefighters Grant. It's for recruitment and retention programs and the ability to buy equipment for those new recruits. The grant was for $347,000. That's a very substantial grant for a small fire company like that. So that's going to help in the efforts of equipment and recruitment for the volunteer firefighters that we have in the borough, which again, our volunteer firefighters, we've had a 26% increase in our volunteer firefighter staff now over the last 18 months. That is all I have right now. If there's any questions, I can answer them.
No, just a huge thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Ray, and thank you so much to Representative Madeline Dean for always looking out for Conshohocken.
She's
really appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming that Chief Metz is not here, correct, Steph?
I believe that he is out.
Okay.
Colleen.
All right, thank you, Steph.
Yes.
So we will again move on to public comment. Brittany, do we have any submitted comments by email?
No, we did not receive any written public comments.
Okay, thank you. And is there anyone for public comment?
Hi, good evening. I actually just have one comment, if that's okay. Seth Pichowski, Spring Mill Avenue.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name again?
Seth Pichowski, Spring Mill Avenue.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Of course. Yeah, so I guess wanted to just mention that it's very exciting to hear that council is open to the idea of moving an ordinance in line with townships and areas similar to ours, or move into an ordinance that's similar. I apologize. Have an ordinance in line with West Conshohocken, Ardmore, and a few other counties surrounding us. The one piece that I would just bring up as part of the conversation is, I know earlier they mentioned the grandfathered rule for roosters and hens. I think that's an area that should be looked at again, just purely due to the fact that, one, it's important to keep in mind that there are noise ordinances involved. You do have roosters and hens that do, make noise throughout the entirety of the night. And it's kind of difficult to draw the line when creating such rule, just purely due to the fact that if you try and say, hey, if we cut this off at this point in time, folks can still say, oh, well, we had a rooster before then, or, why can't I have one afterwards? And so that's the only piece that I'd bring up as a concern. Other than that, happy to see that we're moving in a positive direction.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comment and thoughts. Council truly appreciates it. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Hi, yes, this is David Todd.
Good evening, David.
And
your
I'm
address,
also
please?
on 333 Spring Mill Ave.
Okay.
And I'd like to thank you all for running a very efficient meeting during a struggling time for, I'm sure, a number of folks that you know closely. But I did just want to add on that we would like to make sure that the nuisance situation is properly addressed and not, kept on the back burner for a little while, because I think it's just good for neighbor relations and whatnot. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your input. And I'm sure council will look into and discuss everything. And we certainly appreciate your thoughts and comments. Is there anyone else for public comment this evening? Okay, I don't believe there is anyone else for public comment. And I don't believe there is anything else on the agenda. So with that, I will say meeting adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Safe.
Right.